house over there, Ollie, that was one of the 4 gatehouses that I know of. That one would be similar in design to the Bog Gatehouse, and the one at the top of the Crescent where John Joyce lives presently, and the one at the bottom of the Golf Course Road belong to Duffy's now. They would be similar designs, so they'll be the 4 main gatehouses coming into the estate.
So they surrounded the estate, really?
They surrounded the estate, yeah.
But were the land beyond that owned by
there would have been. They'd vast tracts of land all over the place. They'd land in Leenan as well, out that direction, but the estate itself around the town, that would have been it. You can see in some old photographs the boundary walls running up to John's house on the Newport Road. Yeah. So it kind of circled the estate, really.
The Key Bridge, is it?
Key Bridge, yeah. Story from down through the years handed down to us was the workmen used to leave the estate to have a couple of pints at the quay and play cards coming up to Christmas for a turkey or a goose or something like that. But one of the stories that was handed down to us, my grandfather, my mother's father, coming in one night with a bit too much to drink, and Mrs. Kittrick let him in the quay gate. Yeah. When he came to here, he was so drunk he thought the fairies were on the bridge and they were trying to stop him. So the thing to do then was to turn his coat inside out and to let him pass. But I'd say drink was the main thing there.
Triggered it off, yeah. Tell me, who was Mrs. Kittrick?
Mrs. Kittrick was the gatekeeper. Herself and her husband Martin. Martin worked in the bottling plant on the estate, and he actually won prizes, the RDS, at the spring shows for making butter, and that would have been made here on the estate and displayed up there.
And that was the 60s and 50s?
Oh, that'd be going back before the 60s. That's probably back into the 40s, before my time, 40s, 50s.
Yeah. And the Kittricks minded the gate lodge?
Kittricks were at the gate lodge where the fatties are now.
Oh, no, yeah. And who was at the one up in the top?
There was a Mrs. Kelly at the one in town.
At the library, yeah?
Yeah. Charles Kelly was at the Bog Gate.
Charlie Kenny,
yeah. He was the mechanic on the estate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was in the other one, down on the Golf Course Road. The name Riley comes to mind, but that mightn't be right.
So this is the old boathouse, Tom?
This is the old boathouse, Ollie, yeah. I don't know an awful lot about it. I do know it housed the yacht that the Browns owned, Christine. I remember the boat in it. She'd come in on a high tide, she'd be launched on a high tide. They actually walked down the kind of a gantry on either side of the house itself.
So they could step onto the boat from inside?
From inside, yeah.
And was it a sailing boat or a motorboat?
Sailing boat.
Had they an engine in it?
I'm not so sure about that. They possibly had. I remember being on it as a kid, and maybe we shouldn't have been.
It was a pretty old boat, it was?
Oh, a very old boat, yeah. Yeah. Probably 1880s, 1890s or something like that.
And did you ever hear what happened to it after the Browns had it?
The Malloy family in Westport, I think, owned it afterwards. I remember it actually at the quay, but I haven't heard anything of it since.
I think it went to Galway. I heard it went to Galway, you know?
Yeah. Here on the sluice gate, which is just down there below, that was used to lower the level of the lake. Generally for cleaning after events, you get a lot of branches and refuse and all that coming down the lake, through the river, down into the lake. So when that was raised, let vast volumes of water go, and the lake dropped almost immediately. Over a couple of hours, we see the drop off.
The lake would empty out, would it?
The lake would empty out.
And would it be down to mud now, down to the bottom?
It wouldn't be down to mud, no, but it'd be a couple of feet down.
Couple of feet down.
Yeah.
And it would suck out a lot of dirt, it would?
Oh, the amount of refuse, trees, branches of trees, anything that was in the river that came this way went out to sea.
Yeah. And how often was it done?
That was done generally once or twice a year. Well, normally twice a year. My dad, I think, was the last one to actually operate it. Now, I might be wrong there, it couldn't be new since, but they normally done after the winter. And again, before the winter, it started again kind of at the end of summer.
And what was your father's name?
Hugh Doyle.
Hugh Doyle, yeah. Many Doyles worked on here?
Himself and his brother Jack. My mother worked in the house. for a period. I worked here while I was going to school, with the ponies and the caravans and all that sort of stuff. But he worked all his life here.
Oh, it was, okay. Now along when this a bit, when this a bit, the lake.
No, I don't. But originally the tide would have washed the whole way into the house itself.
Up the house itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a man-made lake actually.
This is the scene of a photograph.
This is the scene of the photograph, Ollie, that the Leeman put up, and I responded to. It was a kind of a stairway down from the front down onto the ground here where I'm standing now.
Yeah. And what would have been up there? Loft.
They've kept stocks like oats, barley, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Plus a lot of other items. I wouldn't know an awful lot about what was kept there, but it was generally stores for animal feed and all that sort of thing.
Were you ever up there?
Oh, I was up there. I lived in it as a kid.
And you up in that loft, were you?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of them.
And there'd be a lot of space up there, there is?
Huge
yeah.
amount of space. Yeah.
And see the one above it, is that another floor or the same? It's all the same?
2, if not 3 floors. I kind of forget now. There could have been a 3rd floor. There was actually 3 floors, and all the timber for repairing the beams and all that was actually milled on the estate. Right behind you at the bog gate, across the road from the bog gate lodge, was the sawmill, and the link road out to the sawmill is we call the Old Bog Road. Is the original road. That was before the golf course road was built around the early 70s. This is the house I was born into in 1955. There's 3 families living along here, even though there's 4 houses in it now. You had the Browns, not the family Brown, the main owners, but Josie Brown and his wife and family, and you had the Judges.
And the last 2 down there, yeah?
And the last 2 down there, yeah. In the main archway there, and into the left, they had a thing called the bothy, or the men used to call it the bothy, and that's where they socialised, played cards, had a couple of bottles of stout, and all the rest of it.
And would that be night time or daytime?
Oh, that'd be night time. That's where
Night
they
time,
socialised. It's like a little club.
Little club, yeah.
As it is now, it was different then. There was a railed fence along the front here, in front of all the cottages. That was taken away during the 70s, and that house there was added in. It would have been part of the original of the house on either side of the arch.
So it was a big house then, wasn't
It was a
it? The big house that time.
Yeah.
And that was put in for tourism, for more rentals, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it like living down here?
Well, I left in 1956 for
yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Lovely. I mean, the time that we had down here in the 70s and the 80s, absolute godsend. We had everything. We had ponies flying around on, we had boating on the lake, we had whatever you wanted to do.
You had free access, you were allowed to do anything you wanted.
Whatever you wanted to do. There was no block on anything.
And who was in charge that time up in the house?
Lord Sligo would have been around, but Jeremy would have been the main man then. He took over in the 60s when he opened up the house. The farm manager at the time that I'd have been here now in the 70s was Michael Kennedy. Well, he'd have been the estate manager. The farm manager then was a guy called Jim McConnell, northern man. I think he went back to the north probably around the late 70s or something like that. And Amos McNally took over then the running of the farm.
And he was the last
the last one that I remember doing it properly as it was ran as a farm.
And what kind of stuff were they farming at the time?
They had a dairy farm. In the latter years the dairy was gone. It'd be all dry stock, but the old dairy was where the golf club is now. That was the original dairy.
Golf club shed, the big shed.
Golf club, yeah. And at the back of the farmyard here was the bottling plant, where they bottled all the milk, and the milk was sold off into town then.
In town, it wasn't being collected for the big dairies at the time, no.
Later on, it would have been. It would have been collected and gone sent to the creamery in Castlebar. And the skim milk would have been brought back then for feeding calves and that on the estate here.
And was there any ploughing done, or corn or wheat, or?
There was, but not in the 70s. My dad actually ploughed the golf course, or the golf courses now, back in the 40s during the war, because apparently any big landmass like that was ploughed up to prevent possible invasion or something like that. But he would have been one of the last men to plough with horses here.
And was he long here?
He worked all his life here.
Was he born here?
No,
Yeah.
he was born in Kilmena, on a farm in Kilmena.
Okay.
Worked here and moved here then as the family got a bit bigger. That building behind us, Holly, as I remember it, was a store for hay, for feeding the stock, feeding the horses in particular. There'd be a lot of hunting horses kept on the estate back in the 30s and 40s. The hay used in the latter years was used for the cattle that were kept on the estate, and it was accessed from the farmyard itself up a stone-built stairway. The two small doors underneath there linked directly into the farmyard as well, so you could walk through to the house here behind us that Kelly's lived in the 60s and 70s.
So Kelly lived in that house.
The day, yeah, Dick Kelly and his wife Anne and family.
And what role had Dick here? What was he?
Dick would have been one of the main men on the farm back in the 70s and 80s.
Had fellas on the farm specific jobs to do? Like
No, they had, yeah. Well, generally you'd be a jack of all trades, but if you showed an aptitude for one particular job, you're kind of more or less left at it. Dick now would have been into stock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The likes of Alfie Joyce would have been the carpenter on the estate that, when I remember it. My dad would have been involved in the later years in the forestry end of it, clearing firewood and general work like that around the place, maintenance on the estate, you know, any road repairs and all that sort of stuff.
Who was in charge of the milk?
At the time.
Yeah.
The milk at the time would have came under, the dairy would have been under Jim McConnell. That would be in the 70s. Before that, Martin Kittrick was the dairyman, and the bottling plant, which we're going to see in a few minutes, he would have been kind of the main man there. He'd have bottled all the milk that was produced on the estate. Looking at the old orchard, yeah.
And was it big?
Oh, it was huge area, yeah.
Down to the end, down to the trees on there.
Way down to, there's a cottage down there called Orchard Cottage.
Oh, that's why they called it the orchard. Cottage.
Yeah, that's why it was called the Orchard Cottage.
And who lived in the orchard cottage?
Well, my mother actually lived in it for a couple of years as a young woman with her parents. Lord Sligo lived in it. Various people down through the years. I think the last people to live, Allergan owned it at one stage. And I think the Hugheses owned it, were the last owners in it.
Yeah.
This little building here behind us, Martin Kittrick worked in it. He bottled the milk and capped it in that little building there.
And was there much milk going up being produced at the time?
There would be. It'd be one of the main dairies in the area, probably the biggest dairy in the area. And the milk had been sold in town, and in the latter years then it would have gone to the creamery in Castlebar.
And when they're capping the bottle, how did they do it?
That's some sort, I can't remember the mechanism in it, but they used rolls of foil.
Silver foil, yeah?
Yeah, and
Probably squeeze it.
I can't remember the actual workings of it inside itself, but I have a roll from years ago, and as each bottle was filled, it was capped with this little foil thing that came off the roll. Obviously, some sort of a press system.
Very small little building, isn't it?
Very small building, yeah.
For activity, yeah.
Yeah, we kept hens up here. Each family on the estate generally had a cow, and they'd have a calf every year. The calf would be sold off, which had the cow for your own milk, and you were given a plot of land to grow whatever veg you needed.
And where was that land? Was it near here?
Could have been anywhere. You'd pick a spot, and
okay.
that generally wasn't a problem. Once you had it secured, you grew whatever you wanted. You had all the firewood you needed as well, because there'd be a lot of wind blow, so all of that had been cleared off the ground, or as much as possible. Some sold by the estate into town. People that would be looking for firewood, they'd buy it. But in that area there, now before my time, we kept hens. So you had your own eggs as well. So it was self-sustaining.
It's a great place for a child today, Bangor. There was all these trees and
Absolutely
forest trees and
brilliant.
was there much wildlife here?
Oh, teeming with wildlife. There was everything you wanted to see.
What
You're out late at night, you'd be out all night with a torch or something like that.
And what would you see out there?
Ah, foxes, badgers, everything. You name it. Rabbits, hares. I mean, we all got our started off our bit of hunting back in the day, getting rabbits and stuff like that for the pot.
They're good for fishing, the rivers.
We did, yeah. We fished in the river. Now the fish wouldn't be very big, but got 2 or 3 small trout that were grand for the pan. This was the site here where we're standing now, Ollie, off the what was called in the stall-fed house. The cattle were brought in here. This was a roofed area, and the cattle would be brought in, dry cattle would be brought in for the winter and fed here.
Were there many of them in it?
There'd be a lot of stock in it.
Yeah. And did some of yours dogs or?
Yeah. Just over here where Gracie's bar is now, you can actually see the back wall of it. That back wall there would have been facing towards me now, would have been the dog kennels, and that's where the gun dogs would have been kept for the lords of the estate and the last gamekeepers, I think, to keep dogs on it were the Merritts, Charlie and Ernie Merritt. They were the gamekeepers on the estate.
Would they have any dogs, would they?
They probably would have. I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure they'd have, for the shoots they'd have here, they'd have 6 or 7 dogs anyway. And probably guests coming in, they'd probably have dogs as well,
And with the shoot here in your time, did you ever see them?
Just the ones.
Just
I remember
the ones.
taking part in the shoot here, I'd say around 1970. I had a few dogs myself, and went out, I think it was with Jeremy's father-in-law and his brother-in-law, and there was a few other people as well.
And where'd you go? Around the?
Oh, the whole estate.
All
around the estate, yeah.
You didn't go up the country down to Lean or anything?
No, generally up the north side of the estate.
And was there enough stuff here? There was
then, but as the years went by and there was lack of growing of wheat and oats and potatoes and all that, the pheasant population kind of dropped off. But in the day, the gamekeepers themselves fed, reared all the shooting stock here and released them, and the shoots would be held every so often then.
So it'd be mostly pheasant, would it?
Mostly pheasant, yeah. Mostly pheasant, yeah.
Would you woodcock and that kind of stuff?
You would, but woodcock wouldn't be reared here. Woodcock migrating birds, so they'd come and go.
And would they shoot down the shore now? Would you go down there?
You would do, yeah. There'd be a lot of shore shooting that'd be done. Mallard, teal, widgeon, all that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, all the maintenance was done by the workmen themselves. The carpenters, Alfie Joyce was probably the main carpenter at the time. Chad Kenny, he'd have been a carpenter, come mechanic. So they did all their own servicing on tractors, combines, whatever they had were repaired on site.
Oh, was there a lot of machinery down here?
An awful lot of machinery, yeah.
And they owned it?
Oh, they owned it, yeah. When tractors became really popular in agriculture, the land out here, they started off with Ferguson 20s, I think, and then they moved up to Ferguson 135s or 35s, then to 135s, and then up along the line. The super tractors never came here because the farming had kind of more or less came to an end at that stage.
Would they have been working for a super tractor? Well, the fields were huge though, wouldn't they?
There would have been back in the day, but gradually as the 70s kicked in, the farming kind of slowed down and it became more a tourism thing. Jeremy would have been more into tourism than farming, so the land would have been leased for farmers for grazing sheep mostly. Yeah, Ollie, this is the pond field, and behind me you had the bog field which ran out to the bog gate house, the lodge house.
Yeah.
This is where the coursing meeting took place every year. The slippers hut would be up around this area here, and the dogs ran that way. There was a ridge running across the bog field up to the house, the gardener's cottage up on the hill. And generally the dog that was in front at that ridge at the course won. The dogs would then, as each pair ran off, would be brought into the back of our house and they get their rub down, and generally my mother was the one that did the muscle rubbing down on them. She kept greyhounds herself.
She had a reputation, did she?
She
were good at it,
the
yeah?
Garrities would have, yeah. My grandfather and all the Garrities, and my mother in particular, won at the time and that sort of thing. You know, it wouldn't have been that common, but she did. She loved her dogs.
And why did they call this the pond field?
Pond field, there was a pond directly behind me, in front of the farmyard.
That's a little bit the brown spot on
yeah,
the brown
yeah.
patch behind you. Okay.
That was closed in probably in the 80s, I think, but I remember the cattle used to drink in it. I think it was a stone wall, more or less, around it, down to a spring, and the cattle would have drank there. It could have had some other purpose before that, but I remember the horses and the cattle drinking there.
Was that road there at the time? The road that's there now?
The road, no.
The field ran down to the pond?
The field ran down to the pond, yeah.
And it ran up to...
It ran up, there was a narrow road in front of the houses,
Yeah.
in front of the farmyard. Basically where the fence is now,
Yeah.
the field ran down the stairs, that fence.
And you had front gardens down there then?
We had front gardens down there, yeah, rose bushes and everything else in them.
Okay.
That alley was a turning device for vehicles. Now I never saw it in operation, I've seen it raised just once back in the 70s. I think it was a hydraulic sort of a system, but it was raised up. The vehicles would drive onto it, probably delivery vans and stuff like that. It would be raised up, and the driver would then push it around, so he'd be facing back out again for driving off.
And who lived down there at the time?
We lived in this flat here beside us, the north wing.
This is the north wing
This
here?
is the north wing.
This is where you lived in there
This is
then?
where we lived, yeah. After the farmyard and after James Street.
So you had a lot of residents in your time?
We had.
Which is nice.
Which was lovely.
Yeah. And the main, your entrance store was down there, was it?
Our entrance store was down here. It was actually what we used to call the servant, or it was the servant store, but it was the back door for tours. The tours would go in the front, they'd be brought around the house, and that was the exit in for them.
And you come down here then, out here then, yeah.
Yeah, but that was actually our entrance door.
And you've no idea when that was built, that thing?
I don't, but I'd imagine because it was fairly up-to-date sort of thing, I'd imagine probably the late 20s or the 30s or something like that.
Okay. And what kind of a car did the Browns have? In?
The last old type car I remember here was the Ford Consul. That'd be going back, that'd be around 1967 or something like that. But after that, I remember Lord Sligo had Rovers. I'm sure before that they had different types up through the years.
They had cars, they also had cars.
Oh, they always had cars, yeah.
Those cars were around.
Yeah. Roughly in this area, they had a swimming pool, which I remember in the 70s. There was actually 2 Atlantic grey seals kept in it when the zoo was running here. The pool would have been fed from the river itself through a sluice gate up at the back of the old church. And it ran under the lawn and down and fed the pool here. And to flush the pool then there was another little gate somewhere on the other side of it, and let the water out into the river and away.
Did you actually see this yourself there?
I remember the pool in it, yeah. I remember the seals in it.
Yeah. You never got into it yourself?
No, I didn't know. It was really cold.
Oh, Tom, what's that?
That's the sluice from the Carabeg River. That when they'd want to fill the swimming pool, the sluice was lifted, the water ran down under the lawn through a drain and into the pond, or into the pool at the front of the house.
It's a long way down, isn't it?
It's a good bit down, yeah.
It's 400 metres, is it?
Yeah.
You have no idea when this was built?
I don't. I'd say probably not too long after the house itself was built, but I actually saw this working. I saw the pond being filled.
Did you? Yeah.
I did.
And would there be 2 doing it or 1 doing it? Would fella come up and...
Well, generally they'd have 2 or 3 men. I mean, back then the guys always had a bit of backup, so you might have 3 fellas doing the one guy working here, another fella keeping an eye on it down below.
Okay,
It'd always be 2 or 3. Lord Sligo came home from London at one stage and he had a new Rover and pulled up at the front of the house and probably forgot to pull the handbrake, but the car was gone the following morning. My uncle found it a few days later in the river by the aerial sticking up out of the water. Car was duly pulled out using a truck from Hastings Garage, which was an ex-army truck as far as I can remember, only two-wheel drive. It got bogged down and they had to get one of the tractors from the farmyard to pull it out.
So they had to pull the two of them out.
Pull the two of them out. The vault alley,
Are there many buried down there, do you think?
I don't know, but apparently my dad was in it at a burial. I think it was the previous Lord Altamont, and he was brought here on some sort of a carriage,
Yeah.
pulled by his favourite hunting horse. And he's, as far as I know, he's buried here. I think the coffins are along the walls and they're all lead lined. I don't know how many people are in there, but there's certainly a good few in it. But I think that was the last major burial here. There might have been one or two since.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main one, and that had been back in the probably the late 40s.
It's very impressive, isn't it?
Oh, very impressive, yeah.
Very
Right
impressive.
beside the church as well, it was.
Church in the background.
Yeah.